economy.
The only reason why you're here first is because you don't want to get slapped with regulations. But if you are indeed asking, then I am saying no. It's unconstitutional. You can't make your own currency. That is the federal government's job.
Problem here is hard cash is fading rapidly. That's just the way of the world right now. And Bitcoin is spreading. And if Bitcoin takes over, we are all in a world of hell. With eCoin, we control the ledger and the mining servers. We are the authority. I will make sure you have visibility into every single wallet that's open, every loan, every transaction, which means we can start making new assets, which means we can start rebuilding the banking sector without your having to inject even more politically unpalatable federal funds into it. This is going to be controlled by a good old-fashioned American company. You want to regulate it? Be my guest. Regulate the shit out of it. I'll give you back doors, side doors, trace it, whatever you want. Just don't shut it down.
How long have you been pressing this pedal? How long have you been plotting against me?
Oh, come on, Jack. We've known each other for years. You know full well I don't give a shit about you. Defeats can still be profitable.
So we think that's maybe the biggest opportunity with Ripple. It federates the world's payment systems. And
Welcome to Token Topics. XRP is the topic of this video. We're going to dive into some latest news, also connect some dots and more. Shots fired again at Bitcoin's code as Chris Larson makes some more comments. We're going to dive into that. Also, major dumps are going on. I'm going to dive into that. The whole monetary system is about to radically change, and XRP has taken center stage. Do remember, I'm not your financial advisor. Invest at your own risk. Any investing is risky. I'm also not paid for or sponsored by Ripple. With that out of the way, let's go ahead and dive in. All right, here's the latest news on the XRP or Ripple lawsuit versus the SEC. This is from Finance Feed. So, Ripple is powerless against the SEC's redactions of DPP documents. Now, anybody that's been following this lawsuit, they know that this whole thing is a show. It's to stifle the innovation. Most likely is to try to put a stranglehold, but there's also another good side to this, is that it's going to give us clarity as XRP takes center stage of the new financial system. This is going to help give us clarity of what the definition between a security or what is a digital asset, currency, and so on, or what is considered a commodity. Whether this is an attempt to truly put a block on Ripple, which that is my personal opinion, or not, or if this was just all planned, I think we can all agree on one thing, that this is a show. So the article states that Ripple and individual defendants, Brad Garlinghouse and Chris Larson, have responded to the SEC's request for leave to redact portions of handwritten notes by SEC staff. Ripple has admitted that it relies on the SEC's representation and the court's review to determine whether the redaction portions expressly reflect the author's own thinking or reflect deliberations or communications among SEC staff during the meeting. I'm going to put the link to this article down below and you can go through it, and it's just stating about how much they could possibly censor and so on, but you've been following the case, you know that Ripple for sure has the upper hand, without a doubt. Alright, next topic. Of course, this is going to make a lot of Bitcoin maxis heads explode and they're going to be upset, but we have been screaming this from the rooftop for a while. A lot of people in the XRP community has been saying that proof of work doesn't work. It doesn't. The environmental impacts on the planet is horrific. And I just stated in a previous video, if you really do the thinking, and in order for Bitcoin to scale at the population level of humanity, imagine the energy resources it's going to consume. It's not sustainable by far. And it's already consuming enough energy as like a small nation. So it's kind of like a no-brainer once you start to think about it. So this is from Bitcoin Magazine, and it states that the ripple effects of change, the code's campaign against Bitcoin, and you can go through the whole article. I'm not going to go through it. Of course, they're coming against Ripple and Chris Larson. Stated these people they're just only concerned about their pockets, and a lot of people are only worried about that and not the environmental impact of the planet. Now, some people are saying, oh, you can't do it. You can't change Bitcoin's code. You can't do all this. Well, if it gets to that point, yes, the governments will step in if they have to make sure that that code changes. We're not going to put a person's greed above the planet. We're not. Now, there might be some conservatives that are listening in on this and they don't believe in the whole, climate change. I personally think climate change was used as a weapon in order to push agendas and so forth on the population. But at the same time, I will state that I do believe that there is environmental impacts. I do. You can't discredit all that because, I mean, it's common sense. You see the pollution and all that going around. You can't make believe that that doesn't exist. I don't
really change it too and say, we don't want any of that here. And have basically been kicking out the Bitcoin miners because I think they saw that it was hurting their efforts to get the carbon neutral by, I think it is 2050, right? So what's going on now is they're going to other countries. Kazakhstan, that's not good because that's all fossil fuels. But now coming to the U.S., there's a lot of smart entrepreneurs who now are, creating renewable energy mining. But I'm sorry, there's no such thing as green mining because it's not necessary. They should be changing just like Ethereum did. And by the way, now I think the founder of Zcash also announced they're switching from proof of work to a different low energy protocol. Hats off to them too. But the Bitcoin folks need to make the switch as well. It's unconscionable that right today you gobble in up on the order of 70, and depending on the price, because it's correlated price, 70 to 140 trillion watt hours of energy. Look, if all of that was green energy, that's not good because that green energy should be used for green steel making, green aluminum, green concrete, agricultural usage, direct air capture, green hydrogen, you name it. I mean, there are just so many battles that are being waged in this war, and that green energy needs to go elsewhere. A big part of getting carbon neutral is don't use energy where you don't need it. And you don't need it to confirm the state of blockchains. You just don't need it. So make the damn code change. And I tell you, I just don't think it's going to happen voluntarily. And by the way, look, this is not some secret AI that runs Bitcoin. Okay, it's about 20 to 30 very influential, very wealthy people that are going to make that decision between the core developers, the exchanges and the miners. By the way, there's a fascinating book I've been reading called the block size wars, and it's fascinating because this kind of goes back to one of the big changes that was proposed to increase the block size and sort of how that played out, and how it was a very small group of people that prevented that. So again, this is a small group of people that are incredibly wealthy that could make this change.
I agree with Chris Larson. I've actually stated on this channel before that just the fact that they're claiming, oh, well, we can use renewable energy as a source of energy to mine Bitcoin. The whole point or the fact is to not use any energy or use as little as possible. That's a waste of resources. That's a waste of renewable energy to just mine all that Bitcoin. The whole idea is to make this new financial system as efficient as possible. And even if they're claiming we'll use renewable energy, that's still not efficient. This is tweeted out from TAIG, XRP, and it states here that I joined the fight against the SEC over concerns for my family's financial future. While that is still a big concern of mine, it's taken a back seat to the national security threat of Bitcoin and Ether pose to our country. Our children's future depends on it. I'll put the link to this tweet down below so you can follow him and look at this. All right, this is huge news. This is from Zero Hedge. I got an awesome article here from Zero Hedge. Stocks and bonds are dumped after Brainerd warns that quantitative tightening could start in May. Here's the dominoes following, everyone. And in case anyone has doubts, Brainerd's transformation from dove to hawk, she opened her speech today citing both Paul Volcker and Arthur Burns about inflation. Currently, inflation is much too high and is subject to upside risks, Brainerd said, adding that it is of paramount importance to get inflation down. Nothing really new here, but then Brainerd dropped the following on the balance sheet. So you can see here, I'll put the link to this down below. She stated that I expect that the combined effect of rate increases and balance sheets reduction to bring the stance of policy to a more neutral position later this year, with the full extent of additional tightening over time dependent on how the outlook for inflation and employment evolves. And that was enough to slam stocks lower. This is from Zero Hedge again, that we have reached the end of monetary policy as we all once knew it. And this is submitted by QTR's Fringe Finance. So people who speak out openly with concern about potential death of the US dollar have been written off as conspiracy theorists for the better part of the last few decades. I hate to say it, but people that think that way are incapable of thinking for themselves. They're so used to the media and the government thinking for them and telling them what to think, and this is what's right and this is what's wrong. They're so used to that to where they're incapable of thinking logically for themselves. Because once you actually start to look at all the dominoes that are lined up, you can tell that it's falling. The whole monetary system is about to collapse. Anybody who thinks that the multi-trillions of dollars is sustainable, they're living in a fantasy land. This is complete truth. So it's a good article. It says that states here that less than 2 weeks ago wrote an article proclaiming that Russia would back the ruble with gold as a way to fight back against Western economic sanctions. Also made predictions about the new digital Chinese currency last summer when it first stated the fringe finance. Go through this article, and basically it's everything that I've also been stating on the channel. Not just going back to the gold standard, but a lot of these assets are going to be backed by precious metals. Not just going back to the gold standard, but a lot of these assets are going to be backed by precious metals. When you have something backing, and this is common sense. I don't care how educated a person thinks they are about the economy. They've been brainwashed, okay? When you have nothing backing an asset, that is crazy. They like it that other way because they can manipulate the system and print money however they wanted to. Now, we came off the gold standard before 1933, and slowly the dominoes fell until pretty much everybody came off the standard. So my personal belief was, I think it was the greatest criminal play in world history. I got a great article here. This is from Yahoo. The plumbing of the world's financial system has been replaced and almost nobody has noticed. Now, I like the touch of this article because they put a little innuendo right here. Notice how they put the gold right there. And the fact is that most people are asleep. They have no idea what's really going on. So we definitely can't forget this, because this is another huge domino that just fell recently. This didn't happen too long ago. So the interest rate that once underpinned some $300 trillion in financial contracts from derivatives to corporate credit lines will effectively be dead. So why does this matter? The easy, manipulable LIBOR was at the center of one of the biggest scandals in history of finance, which came to light back in 2012. The banks racked up some $9 billion in fines, and a number of traders received prison sentences. So LIBOR has now been replaced with much more solid and reliable benchmarks. Here's a great tweet that was tweeted out by TAIG XRP, so the United States Government Accountability Office of Ripple. All right, another great tweet from TAIG XRP. I'm going to put the link to this down below. This is another huge thing. A lot of people probably didn't know this or realize this. So the United States Government Accountability, it states here that other virtual currencies that have been created are not based on the Bitcoin protocol. One of the more prominent examples is XRP, which is used within a decentralized payment system called Ripple. Ripple allows users to make peer-to-peer transactions in any currency. A key function of XRP is to facilitate the conversion from one currency to another. For example, if a direct conversion between Mexican pesos, Thai baht is not available, the pesos can be exchanged for XRP and then XRP for baht. Officially from the United States Government Accountability Office. And here's official documents report to Committee on Homeland Security and Government Affairs. So I'll put the link to this down below. You can go through it. All right, here's a huge tweet, a bombshell right here, breaking that David Morgan says on Stansberry that there's some talk of central bank digital currencies going on the back of XRP or some other currency that functions well and has been tested.
Paths are leading to some form of a digital currency. So do you think it's coincidence that we're now at the exact same moment seeing executive orders and mandates come out, and in it there is talk of a coming Federal Reserve digital dollar?
No, it's par for the course as far as I am concerned. I mean, how far along they are, I'm not certain. I have looked into this fairly deeply. There is some talk of going on the back of, let's say, an XRP or some other currency that's out there now that's functioning well and has been basically tested, and then putting a CBDC on top of that. That certainly could be achieved. And if it were, it could expedite how quickly this comes to the fore. I think before.
So the
been paying attention, you know that that's XRP written all over the wall. But it's not just going to be XRP. It's going to be all the ISO ones. But I believe that XRP that's taken center stage is going to be of most importance, right?
You guys know what this represents? What else? I don't remember. It's the calm before the storm.
What's the storming?
Could be the calm before the storm.
The man in the eye of the storm, Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse. Okay, Brad.
This is the elephant in the room. If we don't address this, we're going to fall further behind.